we're going to make a start. So we're going to start with just a bit of background information. So what is the Rural Durham Community Research Network and how can you get involved? Then we'll hear from Stephen, as I've mentioned, who'll be talking about the community research training that we're delivering in May and June. Then we'll come to the audience for questions, as we appreciate you might have some questions after hearing more. And then we'll wrap up with next steps. So if you are ready, we'll make a start. So what is the Rural Community Research Network and how can you get involved? So some background information, if you're brand new to this, this is to set the scene a little bit. So the Rural Durham Community Research Network is supported by partners across the region. So Durham Community Action is working in partnership with the Rural Design Centre and Durham University and other partners to support the development of the network. And we've been funded by the Young Foundation, which is a national organisation that some of you might be aware of, who have been commissioned by UK Research and Innovation to develop a national community research network programme. So County Durham is really fortunate because we're one of only 9 locations in the country to have been awarded funding to deliver a 5-year network. So it's a fantastic opportunity for County Durham. And the Rural Durham Community Research Network brings together communities from rural areas, voluntary sector organisations and community groups who have an interest in community-led research or wish to know more about community-led research. And our primary focus is rural areas, Weardale, Teesdale and Derwent Valley. But it's important just to stress that we do know there's voluntary sector organisations and community groups that work right across the county, and it might not be completely clear that you're working in one of these areas directly, but it could be that you're supporting lots of other areas across the county as well as these rural areas. And if that's you, you can still get involved and we still want to hear from you, just to make sure that that's clear. So what are the aims of the network? So one of the first important crucial aims is to support communities to share their deep knowledge addressing local needs. So you might have had conversations with members of the public or your communities in the past and have heard from them when you speak about research that they feel that research is sometimes done to them and not with them, and that communities aren't involved in shaping research. Therefore, there's a lot of untapped knowledge and expertise within communities that isn't getting utilised. And the aims of our network is to really ensure that these communities can share their deep knowledge and the understanding that they have within their rural areas so that they can lead research and shape research addressing their local needs. There's a huge potential for that, and it's about making sure communities have that sense of power and ownership when it comes to community-led research. One of our second aims is to build capacity and capability within rural communities to lead their own research, share research findings, influence policy and practice. So another crucial aim is to ensure there is that capacity and capability, because we do know that for some community organisations, they might struggle with capacity due to not having enough sort of support from their team. That time might not be there, or maybe there isn't that skill set or confidence. So the network is very much about enabling that. So we're offering things like training, mentorship, support, funding, so that communities can actually get involved with community-led research and then go on to share research findings, because they've led that research. So those findings will be more equitable and hopefully go on to influence policy and practice. One of the other things that we're hearing is some voluntary sector organisations and communities don't really know how to influence policy and practice, and the network is very much about exploring that with communities and strengthening that community-led research in County Durham. And then the final aim is about building a network of organisations and communities and individuals who want to share good practice, learn and collaborate. So there's organisations across different sectors that have got an interest in community-led research, and our network really wants to bring all of those people together so that we can strengthen community-led research in County Durham and provide a space for collaboration so that we can share good practice and learnings from a county-wide perspective as well. So there's some of our aims. So what are the supports and benefits of getting involved? So there's quite a few of them. So number one is that there is funding and support available for community researchers. So this year, a community researcher is from a voluntary sector organisation. This could be a paid staff member or a volunteer who wishes to lead a community research idea or project. So we're working with voluntary sector organisations in the rural areas I mentioned today, and there will be funding and support if they have a research idea so that they have got that capacity to go on and do that. There will be support from Durham Community Action throughout. So anybody that goes on to lead community research will get that support, but they'll also have the expertise and support from a Durham University mentor. So that's really key. So they will be paired up with somebody from Durham University throughout their research project. And the benefits are also that you'll be able to increase research, community research knowledge, skills, confidence within your organisation and community. So this is really important. We want to strengthen community-led research across County Durham. So we want any knowledge or skills that are being gained within the network to be shared wider within your teams as well. And that's another benefit. And you'll be joining like-minded organisations, building new connections and sharing good practice through network meetings built by your needs. So as I've mentioned, the network's in development and it will continue to foster over the coming months and years, and it will be very much tailored to what the community needs. So we're having conversations already with voluntary sector organisations, and we'll continue to do that so that we're offering network meetings that I guess share key themes that are really important to communities. So what's happening right now? So some of you might have come along to our Knowledge for Change workshops very recently. They've just taken place. But this year we've also got £30,000 funding available to support community research. So as I've already mentioned, there is a funding pot there for voluntary sector organisations who want to lead community research so that you've got that support there to be able to do that. We're also establishing plans for first network meetings with communities, shaping how this works for them. So please get in touch if you've got any ideas. We want to hear from you, and we'll be in touch with more information. We're also creating a new website. We've already had voluntary sector organisations user testing our website last week, in fact. We've had lots of fantastic input and feedback from them. And this is really going to be a place where we'll be able to share research finding, resources, and anything about the Rural Durham Community Research Network. And it will continue to develop as well. We're also promoting the network to new communities and organisations. So if you're on the call today and you think your team that aren't here, or there's an event coming up there, you think we should be there and we should be speaking to people, please let us know, because we really want to spread the word about the network. And then finally, we're offering the free community research training sessions facilitated by Durham University. And this is for any organisations who wish to gain new skills within community-led research. So before we go over to Stephen, just to say that these start on Thursday, the 8th of May, once a week on a Thursday at Stanhope Community Centre from 11 to 2:30. Now, it might be short notice for some of you today to come along to the one on Thursday, but you can attend as many of them as you like. So if you want to come along to some of the later sessions, please do. And we're now going to go over to Stephen and talk more about the community research training, what this covers and how it's going to be beneficial. So I am going to just introduce Stephen very quickly. Thanks, Stephen, for joining us. It's really appreciated.
Thank you. Thank you. Shall I just crack on it and tell people what's involved? Yeah. All right. Thank you. Yeah. So hi everyone. Thank you for coming. It's nice to see people on the call. I guess the first thing to say is to kind of talk about the way the training sessions will be delivered. They'll be very, very informal, very flexible, and there'll be lots of kind of practical work. The delivery of the training sessions and the workshops is very much in keeping with the wider ethos of the project, in that we recognise the experience and knowledge and expertise within communities already. And so we're going to be learning by doing. It's not going to be me standing up and kind of doing PowerPoint presentations at all. It would be kind of lots of small group work, lots of work in pairs. and individually if it's appropriate, and lots of opportunity for people to explore their own particular research interests. And there's lots of flexibility within the training and the workshops to kind of shape the future workshops down the line, depending on what people's particular interests are and on what they want to get out of it. As Jemma said, there's 6 training sessions. I'll kind of try and rattle through very quickly what they cover. Now, the first session is a general introductory session introducing the whole kind of package, but also kind of giving people an opportunity to meet each other, talk about their own research interests. And the second half of that introductory session will be an opportunity to kind of start thinking in a little bit more detail about people's own research interests, what they might like to explore, how they might like to go about it, and which stakeholders might be involved, what resources might be appropriate to support that work, and so on. The second session looks at what I often call more traditional forms of data collection, so things like surveys, interviews, focus groups, using data that's already been collected, and so on. So we'll look at kind of how to go about using those things and the strengths and weaknesses of different approaches, where they might be appropriate or inappropriate to use with different participants. The third session continues the data collection theme, but looks at more creative and inclusive and participatory approaches. So lots of researchers now are using things like zine making or collage making, poster making, walking methodologies, visual methodologies, kind of taking photographs, making short videos of particular things in order to kind of make them more inclusive and engaging for those people. Lots of people are using poetry and kind of forms of music and what have you. I'm not particularly musical or poetic, so I might need some support with those things. But there's lots of different ways to explore some of the kind of more creative and engaging ways of collecting data in the third workshop. The fourth workshop moves on to analysing different types of data, kind of the data that you collected, how you might analyse that, with particular focus on AI tools and different types of software that can make that analysis a little bit more, a little bit less time consuming and a little bit easier for community groups. There's lots of things, lots of developments, as I'm sure you can imagine, you probably know, with AI and different types of software and kind of platforms that can make things like this a little bit easier than they used to be. We look at things like transcription, thematic analysis, content analysis, and kind of analysing statistics, again, depending on what people are really interested in and depending on what people's thoughts are. The fifth session moves on to kind of dissemination and impact, so sharing and communicating findings. And we look at different ways of doing that for different audiences. How you report back to participants that you've worked with in the local community might be very different to how you might want to report findings to Durham County Council or another policy organisation or a funder, for example. So we'll look at things like short reports, infographics, flyers, presentations, workshops, and so on, in order to kind of share the findings of your research and communicate them to the different audiences that you want to reach. And the final sixth session we've called Bringing It All Together, which will be kind of tying up loose ends, filling any gaps, addressing any concerns or questions at the end, and then also going through things like thinking about the overall design of the research project, making sure that all the pieces fit together, developing a time scale for the research project, thinking in more detail about resources, about partners, and so on, kind of practical tasks like managing a research project and administering a research project. And we'll end with some reflection on how it's gone, identification of next steps. And as Jemma mentioned, that's not kind of the end of the support that you get, because we'll also talk about the mentoring process, and you'll be assigned a mentor in order to help you kind of with the following steps from there.
Yeah,
so, yes,
that sounds great.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, lots for people to take away from these training sessions, and I would like to find out a little bit more about, I guess, some of the key benefits for some of the voluntary sector organisations to get involved with them. What do you think they are, Stephen? Because I think there's probably a lot there, isn't there?
Yeah, and I guess a lot of organisations on the call and kind of participate in the workshops will have already been involved with different parts of research and what have you. So hopefully they'll be aware of some of the benefits. I think a key one, I guess, is a better understanding of needs with the communities or the groups that you're working with, you know, and the opportunity to explore a particular issue in more detail and to get perspectives on that. And you would hope that a better understanding of a community's needs or desires or views about a particular topic might lead to better services being delivered, or kind of change and, you know, kind of creating a justification for a change in approach or an improvement in some way, which again hopefully would then benefit the wider community. So it kind of be this kind of cycle element. I think also involvement in this piece of work with the support of Durham University and kind of going through this methodical process of collecting data, which I'm sure would be impressive to policymakers and to potential funders for organisations if you can demonstrate that you've undertaken quite a rigorous and engaging piece of research with the local community. I think that would strengthen organisations' case for support in various ways. I think also I hope that the training is engaging, and I hope people will learn something new from it. I've certainly learned stuff from already attending the introductory workshops and from designing the training. And I think a lot of organisations and individuals are really pushed for time and often don't get time and space to think things through in kind of great deal. That's hopefully the training will offer that, and hopefully it will be enjoyable as well. I think that's quite important. It's not going to be kind of 3 hours of lectures every week at all. Hopefully the process will be quite enjoyable and engaging as well.
Yeah. Sounds great. We're really looking forward to it. And I think there's one final thing from me before we go to audience for questions and comments. I guess from a voluntary sector's perspective, does anybody need to necessarily have experience at all in research to take part in the training, or can they come along completely fresh with no knowledge? Is it suitable for that type of audience?
Yeah, absolutely. So we don't make any assumptions about people's previous experience. I absolutely get that there will be some people who have been involved in research at different stages and different scales previously. There may well be some people who it's completely new to, and hopefully we'll be able to kind of be flexible with the approach so that people can get out of it what they need. And you know, kind of there's always something new to learn. I think so. Even if you kind of done lots of experience, it may be a different type of research, a different approach to conducting research that people get. But certainly we welcome everyone in terms of wherever they are in terms of their experience.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. So we're now going to move to the audience for questions. Thank you again, Stephen, for coming along and talking more about the training. And hopefully some of you are interested and will be able to sign up following the event. But I guess without further ado, if there's questions from the audience, we'd love to hear from you. There might be some in the chat. So I'm going to have a quick look and see if we've got anything. All right, okay, so we have got a few questions. So thank you, Rio, for answering about the slides. At what stage is the mentor assigned? Okay, so I think it's really important question. So thank you for that, Karen. We are hoping that somebody is assigned a mentor once their research plan has been reviewed and they go on to receive some funding. But what I would say is actually having some advice and support with a research plan or something that you would like to put forward, that can happen at an earlier stage. But I guess the one-to-one mentorship for a research plan, if you go on to do that, would happen once that plan's been reviewed and you go on to receive some funding and deliver that research plan. I hope that's answered that question, but there's absolutely advice and support with developing research plan, and that can happen throughout the training sessions that Stephen's just been talking about, or it could be that you might not be able to make all of those, but you just want to get in touch with Rural Durham Community Research Network and develop that research plan in another way. We can provide that support. There was another question. Is there a signing up process to follow? Yes. So we will be circulating all of the training sessions and the sign up information. So please do sign up if you're interested. You can choose to sign up to as many or as little as you want. They'll remain open over the coming weeks as people find out about them. We might have people who want to attend the later sessions as well. So please do sign up. Okay, so there's another comment. I'm facilitating weaving workshops. Are there possible notes of sessions? I do have in part a research background and can understand quantitative and qualitative. Okay, great question, Sarah. So we do appreciate that it might clash these training sessions with some other stuff already happening for organisations, and we're trying to be really flexible. So we are collecting, I guess, resources that might be able to be shared with you if you are experienced or have some knowledge and want to develop a research plan but can't come along to the training, and we are exploring different ways to share some of the training material if that's what's needed from voluntary sector organisations, because we do appreciate that not everyone can get to them in person. So thank you for that comment, and that's something we can have a discussion about. I think we have another message. Is there a timeline on developing your research idea and project applying for the funding? Okay, yes, that's a really good question, Lindsay. So we are proposing that a deadline for developing a research plan or idea and submitting that for review would be July 2025. So that would be our deadline, and we are going to be confirming a specific date very, very soon. But we will have some research plans, templates to circulate. So if organisations are really, really keen and are very interested, that is something that we can start to discuss with you. So I'd really encourage you to get in touch. And that deadline will be in July. And then afterwards, I think, and we might be able to get clarification, because I know Rural Design Centre are online, that would then be that the funding would start and the research project would start in September. But we might be able to get clarification if we think that that's wrong. Rural Design Centre, do let me know, but I think that's right in terms of the timelines for this year.
No, that's absolutely right, Gemma. We've got the funding application deadline for the end of July. So decisions will be made in August, and then but there is flexibility around how and when that's spent, because we appreciate that projects have their own pressures and capacity issues and times when they're going to be busy. But we're looking at the first research projects to be finished by June, July of 2026. So it gives you quite a bit of time to get that done.
Yeah. Okay, thank you for that. Hopefully that's answered your question, Lindsay. Okay, so I think thank you for answering Sarah's question, Stephen. That's probably most questions answered now, but what I would say, if you've got any other questions after the event today, please do get in touch with us, because there might be something that pops up afterwards. We're open to hear from people at any point. What we'll do now is I think we'll go straight over to next steps and wrap up the event, but thank you for all of your questions and all of your time today. We've really appreciated it. Somebody sharing their email. Right, so we'll now go over to have a look at next steps before we finish. So as mentioned in the chat and in questions just a second ago, we are going to be circulating the sign up information for all the training sessions after today's event. So please do sign up to them if you're interested in coming along, or if you can't make them but you're really, really interested in being involved with developing a research plan or idea, please get in touch. We would love to hear from you and discuss that further. We're going to be working with interested voluntary sector organisations to begin developing research plans. So there is absolutely that advice and support available to do that. It could be that you're doing that through the research training, as we've already mentioned, but it might be that you want that support in another way. So please do reach out to us and get in touch. Information about network meetings for anyone interested in community-led research will be shared in due course. So as I've already alluded to, this network is developing as we talk, and we're hearing lots of ideas and having discussions, and we will be in touch with more information about that soon as we establish the network. And there's also an option to join our mailing list. So if you're on the call today and think some of your team should be signed up to our mailing list, please do encourage them to reach out. because we really want to make sure people don't miss out on key updates from the network. So please do get in touch and let us know. So I think that's everything. We want to thank you. We've got a short poll for people to complete. So please share your feedback, and that will appear on the screen in just a second. And then once you've done that, you're free to leave. And thank you so much for joining us for our very brief lunchtime webinar. And we hope it's been enjoyable and informative. Thank you.